It's Monday, August 20th, and you're listening to the Geek at Geek News Central, show number 792, sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com. Our August special for all new and existing GoDaddy customers, save 20% off your order. Use promo code GO20OFF2. Geek News Central is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Everyone got a great show lined up for you. You know what's next. Strap in. Here it comes.
All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're go fly.
Microphone.
We're go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right. I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Who's got the button?
4,
There is no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Aloha and welcome to Geek News Central, coming to you as live as it can be from the beautiful state of Hawaii via the Geek News Central studio overlooking Greater Honolulu. Everyone, welcome to the show. Of course, my name is Todd Cochran, and I want to encourage you to get over to geeknewscentral.com and check out all our great content. We got a great lineup of writers over there putting up daily content for you. So definitely get over to GNC or geeknewscentral.com and definitely check out all the content. Of course, we want you to get subscribed to the podcast. That's one of the most important things to do. That way you'll never miss a single episode of the show. So definitely get over there and get signed up. While you're there, get connected to our newsletter as well. And what that's going to do is that's going to get you the show notes delivered directly to your inbox immediately following the show. So that is going to have all the links to everything that I'm going to cover during tonight's show. Hey, everyone, I welcome you, of course, to the show. And it's been coming off a little staycation here in Honolulu. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And maybe the bug that I may have caught. So we'll talk about that here in just a few. But as always, if you got comments on today's show, reach out on Twitter at Geek News. Of course, you can always email the show, geeknews@gmail.com, and the voicemail hotline is open 24 hours a day at 619-342-7365. You can always watch the show on your Samsung Smart TV, on Google TV, Roku, Boxy, where I'm there as well. So definitely check that out if you have one of those devices. If not, of course, you can watch the show online or via any 100-plus devices that consume content. There's basically 100 content devices that can consume content here at geeknewscentral.com. Of course, I want to remind you that the live audio stream is up and running. And matter of fact, I had forgotten to switch that over to live here today. So I'll do that here in a few minutes. Basically, what I'm trying to do with that is give people an alternative. If they don't want to watch the video, they can watch the live audio stream. It's a little tricky. Let's see if I can, how long it's going to take me. And that just goes to show you how prepped I am for tonight's show. Of course, in a rush, you're pushing the wrong buttons. What I've been waiting on is a new. Okay, I know you can't do that. It's complaining about not being able to back up to Time Machine. It's on the wrong network. So there we go. We've got the stream up live on this show right now. So if you want, check out the live audio stream again at geeknewscentral.com. You'll find the link there in the second column of the website on how to do that. So definitely consider listening live if you get a chance. I tell you, I've been came off this little staycation here, and my wife and I both this morning were like, blah. We got up and we're really feeling not good. And matter of fact, I was to the point where I told her I'm just going to lay down for a few hours, and I did that, but have not been 100% today. And I don't know if we just got a touch of a bug from somebody or something, but I'm going to just basically take it easy here for the next couple of days. But my wife's mother took off this morning, flying back to Okinawa. Matter of fact, she's still airborne at this moment. We'll be landing in a couple of hours, but saw her off this morning at the airport. And lucky was able to get her a business class upgrade, so that's pretty nice on an international flight. But it was great having her here for the last couple of months, and look forward to her making a return in the future. Hey, want to take care of a little business here tonight, and we'll get into a couple other topics before we get into the content, of course. You know, GoDaddy.com, longtime sponsor here of the show, and they've always given us some great deals. This month, we're going to give you 20% off your order, and really this works on just about everything by using that promo code GO20OFF2. And basically, there's a link in the show notes. Once you click on it, it's going to take you to GoDaddy.com. You'll see a little yellow bar in the on the website that says special offers, save 20% off your order. So definitely check that out. And if you wanted to mix and match promo codes, you can always do that by coming over to my website, going to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy, and you can look at all a quick reference here for the guide to my best GoDaddy promo codes, and there's a whole bunch there available for you to check out. Now, GoDaddy's a longtime sponsor here at the show, and we run all of Geek News Central on GoDaddy servers. And as a matter of fact, I was having a little bit of trouble with on a secondary server. What was it, on Friday? And I won't go into the details of what was going on because I don't want to really talk too much about how my setups are on my boxes for fear that someone may try to exploit something if I was publicly to say it. But sent an email over there and I said, hey, this is the issue. And, basically I do customer support just like you do. I submit the ticket and I don't get no special access, I guess, for better words. I go into the queue. And a little while later, I got a response saying, hey, we see what's going on. It looks like we can't log into your account. Sync your password, please. And basically, they have a utility. They can't see the password, but if you sync it, it's encrypted, and they can actually log into your box if you need them to. So I did the syncing of the password, and they were able to get in and make the little tweak that they needed, and got me all squared away. But over the course of about an hour, took care of things, and it was just great to have a good customer service experience, and that's what I hope happens to all of you. So if you have any issues with your account at GoDaddy.com, definitely send me an email, tell me what's up, and I'll get it to the right people within GoDaddy to make sure that they know that you had an issue. And if you didn't get it resolved, we want to make sure that it gets resolved. So definitely use my promo codes, and that way I can come back and say, hey, a customer of mine that used one of my codes is having issues. Let us know. And let me know how you take care of them, and they do. So it's pretty important that we make a good relationship with them, and for you too, for you as for those of you that have these services with GoDaddy. And if you run into any problems, definitely email me here, geeknews@gmail.com, and I'll get right on that for you. Again, geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy for all of the great promo codes. So let me talk just a little bit here about one thing they did do. I got you guys know I've been doing Super 8 conversions, right? I've been sending off my parents and grandparents Super 8 tapes to Costco. Been turning them over there, and they've been going through and basically putting them on DVD. And I want to show you guys that are watching the video. I've got all the DVDs back. So I got these are doubled. So there's really 4 DVDs total that came back from the 4 separate orders I did. I've spent about $400 converting all those Super 8 to DVD, and it's about $100 an hour is what I really kind of, when I basically did the math on it. We got about 4 hours worth of videos out of them. Well worth it because I got stuff all the way back from the early 1960s, really 60, 61, and then all the way through the mid-70s. And boy, I tell you, nothing more painful than seeing yourself as a kid of 5 years old doing stupid stuff in front of a camera. But I put all of those videos up on YouTube. Now, what I'm going to do tonight in the show notes is I'm going to do something kind of special. I made those private, but they're kind of fun to watch. They have, really, if you watch them, you really don't have a lot of context because you're like, who's that? I don't understand. And it's a lot of Christmases and Thanksgivings. And so just to give you guys an idea, the humble beginnings of when I was growing up, and I lived in the country. Father was a contractor, wasn't at all, was not born with a golden spoon in my mouth whatsoever. And it's pretty evident in those videos. So I'm sure it's a lot like a lot of people in this country did back in the 60s and 70s, and the basically the lifestyle that we had back then. And you guys will get a chuckle out of some of the stuff that you'll see. But anyway, I put the link to all 4 videos in there, so if you guys want to check them out, you can. Again, this is kind of just this weird way of just sharing stuff, and you guys will get some insight, and I'm sure you'll be able to figure out who I am real easy. But those will be in the actually I'm only gonna send those links in the newsletter. So if you're subscribed to the newsletter, you'll get the links in that. Otherwise, I'm not putting them up on the website publicly. So would appreciate those of you that do get them in newsletter. Don't repost or retweet them. I've made them available to family members on Facebook, and so it's not like it's a hit out there. But I'm trying to limit just the average Joe. And you guys are all family, all part of the Ohana here. So I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so still trying to figure out a solution for my RAID in my Mac Pro. The Mac Pro says its battery's dead, so I getting a chance to call Apple this week and find out what's going on there, and we'll get into that as soon as I can. But a little bit on this weekend, we stayed at the Sheraton Waikiki, pretty nice hotel, and for Honolulu has got this reputation of being just a little bit older in the style of hotels. And really, the way I look at vacations, especially when you come to Hawaii, your room is basically, you're going to come in and crash, shower, and you're going to get out. You're going to go to the beach, you're going to go to our tourist attractions and so forth. So, but for us, we really went to vegetate, and I spent 3 days at the pool, SPF 70. So I'm not too bad on getting a suntan. Kids had a great time. It was 100% disconnect. I did have my iPad and checked email from time to time, but it was mostly just vegetating, look at the ocean, and every once in a while you just need to do something like that to recharge the battery. And we didn't have to get on an airplane and go anywhere. So when we got home Sunday afternoon, it wasn't like we were wiped out from traveling. So it was kind of nice to do just a local staycation and had a great time. But Sheraton Waikiki, pretty nice, but packed. I mean, this is peak season. Why we would normally do this later on, but because our mom was here, we did it. But really had a great time, and ate a couple nice places downtown, had some good meals, little whiskey and wine, I guess, for a better word, in the evenings. So had 2 separate rooms. So the kids and grandma were in one room, and we kind of were like, does grandma want to stay with the kids? Or like, okay, so mom and dad got a room of their own. So it was nice, really good. And but nothing like a little just kind of disconnect from pretty much everything. Okay, so let me go ahead and take care of last piece of business here. As I said, as I was hanging out on the pool, especially on Friday, one of the conditions was my wife knew that things were still going to. I did answer business emails, and business. It's weird because media buyers always throw you a curve at like 3:00 in the afternoon on a Friday, and they want an answer by 4:30 before they go home. So I was expecting that email to drop. It didn't, but had it, I would have been able to get my team on the line and be able to do an online session and strategize what we were going to do. So really during this summer, it seems like everyone is on a different schedule, vacations, shorter days, working remotely. So meeting all your clients and colleagues in person can be impossible. And me living here in Hawaii, there's no way I'm going to get on an airplane every time and go somewhere. So that's why I recommend GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It lets you meet face-to-face no matter where you are this summer. And with GoToMeeting by Citric, it takes just a webcam. I always have mine handy, or your iPad or your Android device, and a click to collaborate in a group HD video. You can even, again, join from that iPad or that Android device, and you can see attendees eye to eye while collaborating on documents in real time. And you feel instantly connected, even if you're thousands of miles apart. We're 1,000 miles from anywhere all the time. So it's easy to use, and you guys know that I've been using this product for a long time. It is an absolute essential piece of my arsenal, and with the summer months the way they are, it's perfect. And even though I didn't have to have a meeting on Friday, I could have, probably much to the chagrin of my wife if I'd have done it. But I'd have been the cool cat in the meeting, being able to say, okay, folks, I'm here on the beach. Let's get this over with. So, as a listener of this show, And one thing is important here. You can try this for free. And all you got to do is visit GoToMeeting.com, click on the Try It Free button, and use the promo code podcast. Again, be sure to use that promo code podcast. It's real easy by going over to GoToMeeting.com. And, basically, I've got it right up here on the site for you. You'll see the orange Try It Free button. Click on that. Get that free 30-day trial. Now, one thing you want to make sure you do when you're in here, they've got a little, basically, a name, and you want to click on that promo code link. And it opens up, and you're just going to type in their podcast. It's really important, so we get credit for that. But definitely give this a try and make your web conferencing come to life with HD Faces. I want to thank GoToMeeting for being a longtime sponsor here at Geek News Central as well. Okay, let me go ahead and let's get into the content. I got a full stack of stuff for you tonight. And let me go ahead and switch this thing back so I can see what's going on with my clock. And oops, we'll bring that back. What's going on is I'm using one monitor. I'm doubling it. It's basically on VGA. It's running Adobe Edition. And let me show you guys, those of you that are watching. So you can see it's running Adobe Edition. Then I switch, and if in HDMI mode, I can actually see the streamer in the Mac Mini. So sometimes switching between screens can be a pain. I have to find a way to easier do that, but it's just the way it is. And the Mac Mini goes into a screensaver, power save mode. So sometimes the monitor thinks it's asleep. So let me go ahead here and get into the stack of stuff I've got tonight. And those of you that are joining me on the live stream, thanks for being here and enjoying the show tonight. I see Spitballs is in, MIB Pro. I always, what is the story with that? I'm always trying to figure out what the significance of your chat name is. MIB Pro. So is that stand for something? I'd love to, if that actually has you always try to figure out people's nicks in chats, and sometimes you see things and you're like, what does that really mean? So Spitballs, again, thanks for being here tonight. All right, let me go ahead and let's see, let me open this up a little bit. Here we go. All right, over on blog.eset.com, apparently there's been some folks have been getting hit with a brand new piece of malware called Reviton. This is not a new piece of malware, and this is not a new scam, but the bad guys are constantly changing the files to use to commit this crime, and your antivirus software needs to be updated on a regular basis to catch new versions as they become known. And so what they've got is some people are getting hit by this thing, and it's basically locking up their machines. And it comes up with this logo. It looks like it's an FBI logo. And the FBI logo is there just to kind of trick you into thinking, am I being actually hit by someone in the FBI? Well, no. What they've done is they've trying to fake you out. And let me actually bring this up here. They're trying to fake you out with this notice. And it basically says, hey, you've been caught violating copyright-related materials, and you got to pay to unlock your machine. This is a penalty that you have to pay to get out of this lockdown. So this is not real, obviously. This is some people trying to just scam some money from you. The malware is real, and it will probably keep your machine locked down to you basically get in. But there's some instructions on here and some things you can do. And this FBI ransomware, please ignore it. But, just make sure you're keeping your antivirus stuff up to date, and you won't have a problem with this. But it is making the rounds, and the FBI actually issued a notice on this because of the simple fact that they had seen this being reported quite a bit. And sadly, a bunch of people's machines were hacked. And a very interesting piece of news, and this is making the rounds a couple of days ago, and I didn't really take a crack at it on the last show because I wanted to read more about it. And this is an article where on Extreme Tech it talks about Harvard having Kraken DNA storage where they've been able to basically jam 700 terabytes of data into a single gram of DNA. And this is pretty incredible. And this was done again by Harvard's Weiss Institute. And basically, it treats DNA just as another digital storage device. Instead of binary data being coded as magnetic regions on a hard drive platter, the DNA that stores 96 bits are synthesized, and each of these base, they call it TGACs, representing the binary value T and G. Basically, they put this together and embed it in basically as a DNA medium. And they said that they essentially, if they get this figured out, and this will be acting as a storage medium, not necessarily something you're going to access in a rapid rate, but something that you could offload and make storage. That technically, if this works, and again, this is some pretty advanced stuff at this point, by using microfluidics and basically this synthesizing and sequencing DNA, which is an everyday task, actually using it in this new feature, they're saying that you could essentially, a drop of DNA would fit on the tip of your pinky, and you could store about 14,000 or 50 gigabit Blu-ray disc in a drop of DNA, again, that would fit on your pinky. And to store that same kind of data on a hard drive, the densest storage medium in use today, you'd need about 233 3-terabyte drives, weighing a total of 151 kilos. They say that if they really figure this out and dial it in, you could record everything going on in the world at all times and be able to store all of the world's content, everything that's being consumed and created, basically with a few hundred pounds of DNA, which is really incredible. Now, this is not living cells. They're saying that they could use DNA of living cells to use it as a quick transport medium, but it won't be long. And, these folks are going to be figuring a way to inject this and then tap it into our brains. And it's just incredible what they're doing. And I know that I'm just getting a little bit off the edge there on a far-faced statement, but if they can store terabytes of data into a single gram of DNA, there's some potential for some crazy stuff to be done down the road. So we'll see where this leads. But pretty cool stuff. Have a link up in the show notes. If you haven't heard about this, please check it out. Another thing that's been going on is hackers are basically trying to figure out how to backdoor the human brain. And they've been able to successfully extract sensitive data. So this is pretty chilling, and makes you really go, But the Usenet Security Conference have demonstrated a zero-day vulnerability of your brain using a commercial off-the-shelf brain-computer interface. The researchers have shown that it's possible to hack your brain, forcing you to reveal information that you'd rather keep secret. Now, they're not tapping in, but they're basically looking at your brain waves. Now, there's hardware, which is usually a headset. And let me give you, those of you that are watching the show, and for those of you that are listening, you have to go look at this. You can pick these headsets up for a couple $100. And I know some folks that have been playing with these over time. Again, this is another article over on Extreme Tech. But what they have done here is they basically have created some hardware here that measures brain activity and tries to work out what you're trying to do. Turn left, double click, open a box, and they're looking for specifically a specific thing that the brain does when it recognizes something. Now, this $200-300 where you can buy this Emotiv headset that's pictured in the graphic that I've got up on the video portion of the show, basically can be used to look at responses from the brain. They've the University of Oxford and Geneva and the University of California, Berkeley created a custom program that was specifically designed with the sole purpose of finding out sensitive data such as the location of your home, your debit card PIN, which bank you use, and your date of birth. The researchers tried out the program on 28 participants who were cooperative and didn't know that they were being brain hacked. And in general, the experiment had a 10 to 40% chance of success of obtaining useful information. Now, they basically were showing the participants a series of pictures. And when you recognize something, there was a certain type of brain pattern in your brain that fired. And they said, oh, that's something that he knows. And basically, they said that's a positive response. And they used those pieces of information, excuse me, to piece together stuff. So they're able to figure out where a person banks, where they live, and using the data that they'd collected, be able to come up with a picture. In a real-world scenario, these researchers foresee a game that's especially tailored by hackers to extract sensitive information from your brain, or perhaps even attack vector that also uses social engineering to lure you into a false sense of security. So this is pretty interesting stuff. So I have the link up in the show notes for you to review and take a peek at. Hey, we want to, of course, recognize Curiosity is up there doing good work. It did its first laser shot today, and so no basically results been released yet. They expect thousands of these types of laser shots to be done over the next couple of years. And what they did is they shot this rock, and they're looking for specific type of information in the actual from what's let off in the pulse. Now, it gives off a plasma. And when the laser hits the target, it melts into plasma, giving off a very specific spectrum of light. And what they had done is they basically have a calibration tool where they shot the laser at 10 different types of products or different types of chemicals and so forth. And they're able to calibrate this thing so that they're going to be able to tell exactly what this laser is looking at. And so it's called the Cam, and this is pretty cool stuff. So the Cam itself, if you want to look at this, if you look at the rover head, it's pretty significant on the actual top of the actual rover itself, and pretty sophisticated device. So we'll see where this goes. But Curiosity's been sending back some pretty cool pictures as well from Mars, and some pretty cool panoramic stuff. But now it's on to real science, and hopefully we can start getting a lot of more information come back on a scientific nature as we move forward in the coming weeks. So pretty cool stuff, pretty cool information come out of the Mars rover team. Now, have you ever wondered, there's, in third world countries, and I'm going to kind of gross you guys out here a little bit. In some third world countries, I know that what they use to fertilize the soil is not necessarily animal exertions. I don't know if that's the right way to say that or not. Sometimes they use human bodily waste in fertilizing the farm area. And that's oftentimes why it's very highly advisable to always, wash your vegetables very good that you get from foreign countries. But long story short here, they're finding out that poop itself can be turned into power. So bioengineers at Oregon State University have developed a microbial fuel cell that can treat wastewater and generate significant amounts of electricity at the same time. This has been done in the past, but they've been able to come up with a much more efficient power generation from this bioreactor. And this is 10 to 50 times more powerful than any other current, what they call MFCs on the market today. So they're going to work on this and scaling it up, but they feel that even in 10 years, if they're able to just generate 1% of the total power that the United States uses, because most water treatment plants use as much as 4% of the nation's power. If they're able to power their own, this would be a significant savings in amount of oil and other types of stuff. And, talk about a fuel that will continue to be, how should we say it, distributed to those water treatment plants. So interesting way. So they're going to be maybe keeping our lights on here every time you quite literally flush the toilet. So flush away. All right, moving on here to something a little more technical, not so gross. The IEEE is beginning work on a new protocol to get internet data transfer speeds up to 400 gigabits to 1 terabit per second over Ethernet. And what they're finding is that the growth, the current state of growth of the amount of data that we're moving, they're worried. They say they have to make the internet and wired Ethernet faster by many multitudes over the next couple of years, or they're simply not going to be able to keep up with the demand. And with fiber being spread all over the place by Google and a variety of other initiatives for people getting higher speeds on the internet, they need to increase the amount of data that can be actually transferred over Ethernet. Now, right now, the current state of the art for high-speed connectivity is 40 gigabit Ethernet, 40 GBE, 100 gigabit Ethernet, both of which have been ratified by the IEEE in 2010, is basically they're feeling that's not enough. They need to move forward much faster. So they've commissioned the 802.3 Ethernet bandwidth report and hoping to figure out ways by working with the industry to make things go faster. So again, 40 and 100 GB are making very slow inroads, and that they feel by 2015 that core infrastructure is going to need to have at least 1 terabit per second, and by 2020 up to 10 terabits per second is going to need to make that. Now, the fastest Ethernet connection that's ever been done so far is only 186 gigabits per second, so they got a lot of work to do. But we'll see if they can get to 400 GPS over the next couple of years. They feel they really need to be aggressive to make this happen. All right, let's talk about Samsung here just a little bit. The judge is basically worried about a confused jury in the Apple-Samsung trial. The judge is basically saying they're going to have trouble tallying up the damages. Each of the both Apple and Samsung have submitted exhibits and questionnaires, and apparently it's a 21-page tentative verdict form that the jurors face after closing arguments, and they have 100 pages of just jury instructions. So the judge is worried that these guys are just going to be a little bit overwhelmed, don't you think? So this is pretty incredible if you think about that. Think about the amount of, preparations going into handing this form over to the jury. So CNET is basically saying that the form is basically probably going to rattle these guys' brains a little bit. And there's going to be examples, and, basically they got to, basically choose if it's each item's infringing. But a 100-page instruction document, you can't get most people to read, a paragraph, let alone 100 pages. And Apple's form alone, there are 225 checkboxes regarding patent infringement. And the judges basically says, you've got to make this easier for these folks. And so far, that's not the case. But I think if I was a jury member, I'd be like, screw it. They've made this too hard. Let's award them each $1 and be done with it. But it's obviously not going to be that easy. So, and the jury has to come together and agree on each one of these questions. So they got to agree as a group. How many days are they going to be in there deliberating this? Apple's form alone, 225 checkboxes. You're going to have to debate and talk about each one of these questions. Incredible. And there's other parts of the verdict form that ask questions like whether the claim within the patent from both sides are valid, and an all-important dollar amount that one side or the other is owed as a result of any infringement. So they can write in how much money they think the group should pay. So I guess they're still battling what's going to be on the document. As of last week, there were 70 disputed items. The Apple CEO and the Samsung CEO tried to work things out over the weekend. That did not happen. So they're going forth with the jury verdict. So we'll see where this leads. Verizon is once again renewing criticism of net neutrality regulations. They need to get over it. They really do. They've sued the federal government. Verizon has renewed its criticism of the Obama administration's net neutrality rules, saying its lawsuit seeking to overturn will rein in an out-of-control federal agency. I think we all need to say, hey, Verizon, you need to play by the rules. Net neutrality rules, especially on the spectrum that you bought. What they're trying to do here is they're trying to circumvent rules that were put in place to prevent them from abusing those of you that are Verizon Wireless customers. That's part of it. So, this suit that they filed in September 2011 seeking to overturn the Federal Communications Commission's net neutrality rules is still pending. And so, I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, but, there's a number of folks in the House and Senate who want to explicitly grant the FCC the power to regulate broadband providers' network management practices. And, even though those votes failed in the House floor and on a Senate committee vote, the FCC itself has been left in shaky ground. But at the same point, they're trying to protect us and make sure that they don't prioritize traffic on their network to impede what we want to do as users of the internet. And, these folks have been given a special trust within the United States to be able to control bandwidth or control a certain amount of frequency spectrum. And, that has to be used for the common good of the community. And I don't think they want to play ball. I think they just want to have their cake and eat it too. So we'll see where this leads and how it ties in. But just mark my words, if they are not forced to abide by net neutrality, it could change everything in the mobile spectrum in a big way, and I don't think in a positive way either. All right, Peter Thiel has sold Facebook shares. He's pocketed $400 million. He put in $500,000 to become a Facebook investor. His $500,000 has netted him $400 million. Now, that was pre-tax, so probably about $270 million post-tax. But he still has a significant portion of his stock left. This is the second time he has sold some. He's on the Facebook board. He still owns about 5.6 million shares. But again, he sold 20 million shares on Thursday and Friday of last week between $19.69 and $20.70. So that's probably explaining why the stock had a little bit of a whack last week, more than what was kind of expected. But more of this will happen. Hey, Best Buy, I tell you, if you are a Best Buy fan, they are in big financial trouble. Best Buy's earnings call is due tomorrow, and basically the vultures are sitting back and watching what's going to happen. Don't expect the news to be good. They have hired a new CEO in order to try to get things under the control, but we'll see. And what's kind of funny is their new incoming CEO doesn't even have a U.S. visa, so I don't know how he's going to be able to run the company not even living within the United States for a while. So in France, the CEO was, until recently, the head of Carlson, a hospitality company that owns Radisson and Country Inn chains. So anyway, this guy's been brought in as a new CEO. We'll see what they do. But could Best Buy go the way of CompUSA? I sure hope not, because that would leave us with nothing here in Hawaii from electronics a vendor standpoint. So keeping my fingers crossed it doesn't go that far. Big discussion on Apple and basically the TV market. And former CEO of Apple, John Sculley, which a lot of Apple users absolutely hate, he says Apple's game to lose should it decide to move forward with a more integrated set-top box or TV set. Sculley made those comments to Business Week, which also corroborated previous reports from last week about Apple's alleged plans to get more involved in the live TV market. So ours is basically saying here that Apple is indeed in talks with at least one major U.S. cable company in order to carry both live and on-demand television content. And that information largely matches what Wall Street Journal has said. So we'll see. Now, Scully may not be everyone's favorite CEO, but he's hit some. He still has a big fan of the company, and he thinks that they have a chance to pull this off. So we'll see what happens here. And he's probably still got stock left, so he wants to see it do well. And speaking of the stock, man, Google stock is off the chart. Some people made the mistake of saying that Google was now, Apple was like top dog in the market. And so I want to rebuke that. Apple's not the most valuable company in the history of the world. IBM won that prize in 1967 with a value of $1.3 trillion. Now, Apple is at 661 billion market share. That does not account for inflation. So they say with inflation, even then, IBM still remains a historic winner. So we'll see where this leads. But wow, 661 billion market. Now, can you imagine if you'd bought some stock when Apple was like bottomed out? You'd be like able to retire. Oh my gosh. So Apple's basically making some boast. Apple retail, 300 million customers served so far in 2012. So that's basically, they've had 300 million visitors in its current fiscal year alone. And this is with about a month and a half to go. That's huge. Now, they've opened their 374th and 375th store in Vancouver, British Columbia. And actually, I was downtown Waikiki and I hadn't been into the Apple store down there. So I think Hawaii now, we've got like 4 Apple stores. That's crazy. But full. The store was just full. The kids just kind of looked inside. We didn't walk in. But they say that they've had an average of 17,000 people walk into each store per week. That's amazing. It really is. And then they've done 83 million customers that visited the store during the third quarter alone. They've had 50,000 people serviced at their Genius Bar through a set appointment. That's pretty amazing too. So, wow. Excuse me. They say that Apple revealed 50,000 people are aided by the Apple geniuses every single day. That means over 18 million people have gotten help with a Mac, iPhone, iPad, or other Apple product. Not so easy to use that product if they're getting that many people having to come in and have help at the Genius Bar, huh? So we'll see where this leads, but big, huge success with this. Moving into a little more law news. You remember we talked last week about how Oracle had basically said, hey, we did have some paid bloggers on staff, and they revealed that. Well, the U.S. District Judge William Alsup, who oversaw the Oracle versus Google lawsuit, is basically saying that Google produced a general list of types of people that and organizations that get money from Google. And he basically has slapped him and said, hey, that's not good enough. You got until Friday to bring me a real list, and you better bring me a list on Friday. So it says that Oracle lawyers disclosed in detail what they had, who they'd paid and how much, and he wants Google to do the same. So more to tell here later in the week on that announcement alone. Along with that, quantum computing is one of those big words that have been out there, and whenever you hear quantum anything, quantum mechanics, everything, it's your brain explodes trying to figure this stuff out. Well, some scientists have been able to basically, there's an element called the terabum, Terbium. The terabum atom is been able to, and of course, the spin is one of the intrinsic quantum properties of particles. And the spin of electrons orbiting an atom has had significant consequences. And really, they've had some major challenges in the past, being able to figure out timing and all that other stuff goes. And there's determinations that have to be made of magnetic properties of materials. But essentially, this proof of principle experiment measured the nuclear spin of a single atom. And the nucleus belonged, again, to a terabum ion inside a larger molecule, which researchers linked to a gold nanowire to construct a transistor-like device. And what they did is they measured the 4 possible nuclear spin states and observed them to be stable for tens of seconds, long enough to perform entanglement and other quantum information processes. So what this is really doing is they're saying that we may be able at some point in the future, because they're able to measure this and basically know what the nuclear spin is they may be well on their way to be able to better be able to do quantum computing, since this specific atom is pretty stable. So that's huge. And that's all about going faster, being able to compute stuff at a much higher rate, taking the standard transistor on-off type theory and moving it into a much, much higher speed. So we'll see where this leads, but scientists are definitely on this path to try to really get quantum computing to the point where it's something that could be a viable product down the road. We're, probably 25 years away, but this is a pretty good first step in being able to find some cool stuff. And basically be able to prove that it's possible to do this. Police are warning internet users not to pay fines to file sharing fraudsters. This is specifically going on in Sweden. Police are warning internet users not to send money to criminals trying to extort money from alleged file sharing sites. Basically, the folks are getting cell phone calls. They've been getting emails and cash demands between 90 and 195 euros. And of course, it wants to be paid to a foreign bank. It says, don't fall for this. This is not the real deal. These are just scammers. So, be careful out there if you're getting calls like this, especially our good listening audience in Europe. Be aware of this, okay? All right, with uTorrent getting a big, basically a big slap in the face last week, the folks over at Torrent Freak have published a list of 10 uTorrent alternatives. Some of these I was familiar with. BitComet is one I knew about. BitLord, BitTornado, Deluge, FrostWire, MediaGet, QBitTorrent, TikTokD, Tribbler, Views. So he's got a good write-up on each one of these. You can check him out. So if you're looking for alternative peer-to-peer product, instead of using uTorrent, there's some good solutions there for you to check out. All right, moving on here. The CyberLocker owners are laundering cash and buying gold bullion, apparently. Well, the battle between owners of the currently offline Oron CyberLocker and the adult movie studio Liberty Media continued despite a judge ordering a $550,000 settlement. And basically, lawyers for Oron have asked the court to unfreeze the company's assets so it can take the case to an appeal. But Liberty Media has objected, noting that CyberLocker still hasn't given a full accounting for its worldwide assets, specifically saying they're sitting on $3 million in gold. Apparently, Oron has been able to, according to the Liberty Media folks, have been able to launder $3 million through Hong Kong and turn cash into gold. And so they want to know where that gold is, how much they have. So no, there's a big fight going over the money and so forth, as to be expected. But we'll see how the judge rules on this. This is the first time I ever heard of a CyberLocker basically turning their cash into gold. I guess if they did it early enough, it probably was a good investment. The way gold has been up and down. So pretty interesting. Hey, the RIAA appears to be having some money issues. Their revenues are down significantly. RIAA revenue for the period topped out at just $29.1 million, a significant fall from $51.35 million the group brought in 2 years ago. The number of employees that plummeted as well from 117 to 72. My personal opinion, good riddance, and hope that they can hope they have more cash issues. Speaking of cash, Instagram, they're saying now, could have cut a better deal. Now, Instagram got $300 million in cash, 300 million approximately of shares of Facebook stock. And when the deal was closed, they would have basically got about $1 billion in cash if they had been able to exercise all those options. It turns out, because the Facebook stock has plummeted, that the folks at Instagram are out about 300 million, at least on paper at this time. So the folks over at DealBook NewYorkTimes.com, which is a site I wasn't familiar with before today, has basically said they blew the deal in a number of reasons and give some instructions and some basically some advice to folks that might be going through a mergers and acquisition in the future on ways to avoid such plummeting stock prices when you're actually doing a merger talk. And basically, you lock in the price of the stock, and that way you're guaranteed to get paid X number of dollars. But yeah, the Instagram folks have taken a $300 million hit to the chin due to the ongoing slump in the Facebook stock. There's an article over in Slate that is pretty incredible. It's how government-grade spy tech used a fake scandal to dupe journalists. And basically what's going on is a citizens media project that grew out of the Arab Spring in early 2011. Basically, those folks that were working for that site called Mamafa, MAMFAKinch.com, was emailed some documents that basically said, hey, this is some information about the government. Definitely check it out. And when they opened the document, it had a payload in it that the Trojan basically tried to connect to an IP address that was tracked to a U.S. hosting company called Linode, which provides virtual private servers that host files but help mask their origin. So these guys' machines were taken over, and they basically said this particular malware was pretty nasty. And they were able to recover the machines after they had to do some pretty nasty stuff to get them uninfected. And but this Trojan apparently is being used by a number of countries to intercept email, do keyword or basically key registering and a whole variety of different things, taking screenshots, turning on microphones, turning on cameras. So this was big. And they think that the company that's been selling this to different agencies, government agencies throughout the world, is by a company called RCS. And RCS said since 2004, they've got about 50 clients in 30 countries, all on 5 candidates. So that's, if you think about it, that covers just about the whole world. And but we don't know which specific countries are using this technology. But goes to show that these folks were specifically targeted to have information collected off their machines to try to combat them in the Arab Spring reporting that they were doing. So anyway, I have this article. It's up on Slate, and I'll have it linked up for you. Hey, did you guys know that the Curiosity's the plutonium-238 is that's basically powering the Curiosity rover, it came from Russia? Apparently, the United States is running low on plutonium-238, and they purchased some from Russia. Matter of fact, it's becoming such short supply that NASA is trying to figure out how they're going to make more without, basically polluting the environment like they did last time. They were basically getting a byproduct of plutonium-239, and which is basically in a lot of, apparently what they say in this article at least, that plutonium-239 was used in nuclear weapons, but plutonium-238, which is the leftover stuff, is basically in short supply. So pretty good article here on this, and but the Russian nuclear fuel is powering our little rover up there. You'd have never seen this 20 years ago, that's for sure. Right, there's a full duration video of the final descent of Curiosity. I'll have that link up in the show notes, and this is just pretty good. It's much different than what we saw in the initial hours after, or initial days after Curiosity landed. They've been able to get all that imagery back, so the link is up in the show notes. Hey, ladies, here's one for you. How many of you using the front camera on your smartphone as a mirror? Well, apparently that's the number one use of the front camera. Instead of doing voice chats with people, it's being used to for ladies to check their hair and so forth. So kind of an interesting utilization of that camera. But I kind of got a kick out of that. Well, Hulu, those of you that are Hulu fans, we're going to have to see what happens here. But, Hulu's being bought by its corporate parents, and apparently set to close on that in September. They're worried that the CEO, Jason Killer, could be set to cash out of up to $100 million in equity that he has. And, a variety of these groups that are working on Hulu want more restrictions. They basically are saying if you're not paying for TV, you're going to have to authenticate. And Disney doesn't want to do that. But News Corp and a variety of other services are on there basically saying, hey, you're going to have to authenticate through your cable provider in order to get access to these programs on Hulu. And I'm not a big fan about this authentication thing. Just let us have our a la carte. Let me pay for it and be done with it. Hey, today, a reboost of the International Space Station orbit by Europe's automated transfer vehicle ended earlier than planned. Thrusters on the ATV-3 vehicle, also known as the Eldorado Amaldi, currently docked at the International Space Station, were supposed to fire for about 30 minutes. And software on the ISS shut down the thrusters before completing the planned burn. Apparently, there was a temperature alarm triggered in one of the ATV's thrusters that was not being used for the reboost during the reboost. So the software shut down everything else, and they're checking it out. But they plan on trying to finish the reboost of raising the altitude of the station's orbit by 7.7 kilometers on the 22nd. If you're selling weird stuff on eBay like spells, curses, you're trying to sell those little dolls that people stick pins in and stuff like that, eBay is basically banning those. So if you need your voodoo doll, you can't get one from eBay now. You'll have to go elsewhere to order that. So this is kind of an interesting move. So that's the last thing you want to see your face painted on is one of those and someone sticking needles in it. Not cool at all. But eBay's banning the sales of those. All right, over on The Verge, registration is now open for the $14.99 Windows 8 upgrade. So this open registration, and anyone who purchased Windows 7 machine on or after June 2nd of this year can now register for your $14.99 upgrade. So that's available for you if you want to go out and get it. And that's kind of cool of Microsoft to make that available. They took a lesson out of the Facebook debacle and have basically said, hey, get registered now, so we'll get you the software when it comes out. Scobalizer is talking about 6 startups that predict an awesome Y Combinator demo day this Tuesday. And, of course, this is going on in Silicon Valley. So it talks about a company called Grid, who's coming up with some cool stuff. Smart Asset, I like this one. It's a beta that's up online, smartasset.com. Another site is Hipset, Instacart, which is kind of cool, too. It's a 1-hour grocery delivery. I like that. Predictive, and all these interesting names, because they couldn't get the actual name they wanted. And Boosted Boards. So pretty cool stuff here. And Boosted Boards, if you are a skateboarder, you're going to want to check this out. It's a skateboard, and they put a little electric motor on it, and it's basically it gives quite a kick to the ride that folks are getting on their skateboard. So that's something that's going to be demoed at Y Combinator Day in Silicon Valley tomorrow. How many of you are using your second screen, in other words, your laptop or your tablet while you're watching TV to actually chat with people? It's being said on paidcontent.org that more and more users are using companion devices while watching television. Well, we knew that. I think all of us are doing that. They're saying that viewers are keener on using those devices for chatting versus looking for other content. I don't know. I don't think I've ever chatted about a show with someone at the same time I'm watching it. How are you using your tablets and your laptops when you're watching TV? Are you using it to chat about the show? So anyway, I have that link up in the show notes. Hey, GigaOM has a great article on plagiarism, defamation, and the power of hyperlinks. As you guys know, about a week ago, Fareed Zakaria, who is a correspondent on CNN, was suspended for plagiarism, and he basically had lifted quite a bit of an article out of the New Yorker, and or was it New Yorker, or what was the actual? Anyway, he lifted some media, basically some text off an article, and but basically the GigaOM folks say, hey, this could be limited damage if folks like Fareed and John Allaire and Gawker Media would have done nothing but just link to the articles that they were talking about and basically follow the rules that most of us are taught when we do English classes. If you're going to, you're going to take someone's quote off their website, you put that in quotes, you make it a separate paragraph, and you provide a link to the original article, and you give credit where credit is due. And people appreciate it when people link to my content and take and make comments, or maybe take a paragraph off the page and link back. I really appreciate that. I really do. And I like that. So, I agree with the folks here at GigaOM that linking provides a great defense when someone is saying that you're plagiarizing their website. So again, if you had basically linked to the source and, give credit where credit is due, this guy would not have gotten suspended. Of course, now CNN, the suspension lasted just a couple of days. He's back on television. But, don't be lazy when you're out there writing. And that's one thing I tell my writers is, write all original content. If you find something, make sure that you link to it. And that's one of the reasons why on this show, when I'm covering content that's on other people's websites, if I read something, I'm telling you, I'm reading something from their page. I also link to their content, tell you to go over and look at their page, what's in the show notes, everything that we cover, every link is there. And we basically, and that's how we give credit to these great writers on these different websites. Is it perfect? No. But at least if I'm talking about something they have written and we link to it, and me giving my own spin on the things, it's important and it works well. So I agree with the ability of the power of hyperlinks. And basically, if you're quoting something, make sure you're quoting something. Case in point, over on gizmodo.com, how Facebook pitched itself before you ever heard of it. Now, someone has gotten a hold of the pitch deck for when when Facebook in 2004 just had 700,000 users. Eduardo Saverin, and I apologize if I pronounced his name incorrectly, was the guy that was going around New York City trying to get media buyers to buy in. But he's got the full deck here. I love this kind of stuff because it just shows you where they start and where they've got. And, of course, the Facebook.com, they changed the name later to Facebook.com, but it talks about how the demographics, who they're going to reach, daily usage, and so forth, and a nice little pitch deck. So, the media deck attained by Digiday is cool, and it's a little rough. Obviously, it's obviously a company that's just getting started, but anyway, I'll have this link up in the show notes, and you can check it out. Well, we've had some great articles on Geek News Central over the past weekend. Alan wrote a great article on Fisker. Fisker has been answering questions about the recent fire, and of course, Fisker is well known. They are building some very cool vehicles that are electrically operated, obviously hybrid, not hybrids, but they're actually electric cars. And so anyway, they've made some statements on what's been going on. And this particular issue was a fan. It had nothing to do with the battery. But Alan did a pretty nice job on this, so definitely check that article out. Along with that, Andrew, one of our contributors over at Geek News Central, he's talked, basically, if you are in the UK, you may want to consider the Ulster Aviation Society. They're having their open house this coming weekend to celebrate 70 years since the USAAF. 8th Air Force arrived in Northern Ireland to fight World War II. So this is a pretty cool collection. And so anyway, I have the link up in the show notes. You can check that out. Andrew, thanks for that write-up. Something you don't normally find on Geek News Central, but again, it's just shows you the diversity of the content that we have on the website. Along with that, KL did a review of the Nexus HSPA. Not a very positive review on this specific mobile device. So, but that's how we find out what's good and bad is by basically having great writers that go out there and have been experimenting with different devices and do the write-ups. Samsung has unveiled the Galaxy Note 10.N, Galaxy Note 10 ad, and they've made an ad with James Franco, and I hate to say it, this ad sucks. The tablet's available now for around $400. Samsung began pushing the device with a new ad, and this ad is like 3 minutes long, and it almost is corny to the it's pretty bad. So I have a link up in the show notes. Of course, James Franco of Spider-Man, 127 Hours fame, and again, it's almost 3 minutes in length, so it's a little long if you want to watch. But I was like, oh, that's 3 minutes I'll never get back in my whole life again. One thing that Samsung doesn't do well is make good, at least in this case, a good advertisement. All right, so you see your Android app updates with appfeed.net. Great article written up, and if you are an Android user, you're definitely going to want to check this out. So most of you that have Android devices set automatically updates for your apps, which means you don't have to worry about them getting updated. But you now can use appfeed.net, and this basically allows you to control how stuff's being updated. And so this is it's a new service available, and I have a link up in the show notes for you to check out. And we thank Alan for the write up on that. All right, last few articles here tonight. Mark Cuban has written a pretty good article. It says, which USA do you work in? And it talks about the basically the digital divide. We've got this digital world, and then we have this brick and mortar world. And, the brick and mortar world is the people that make stuff, stuff that you can physically touch. It's manufacturing, it's retail sales, it's distribution, it's construction, etc. And, of course, the digital world is everything defined by what you find on computing devices. It can be on your desk, in your hand, or in the cloud. So which group do you belong to? And which USA do you work in? And he goes into what's happening in America and how the divide is growing greater between, the different types of industries out there, and talks about unemployment for college workers and or college graduates. And this is a pretty nice article. And he's went through here and a few points here and go, And so definitely check this out. And, one thing I like about this article is he's basically taking the universities to task. He says some of this stuff that they're teaching in college is crap. And, companies are struggling to keep up with the changes in digital technology requires. He says train people and they will hire them. He says universities should also make classes available for high school seniors if they can test and let them. It will allow smart kids to do smart things and get smart digital jobs. And who knows, they might change their mind and go to, he says, IU or North Texas, or be happy grabbing a great job. Either way, the school has done something good. So he goes into talking about the school stuff. But anyway, good write-up here. And, my kids, we've been having a lot of college discussions. And, I'm a big, my son is got a big brain when it comes to math, and he's doing a little programming. And I'm like, man, the world is at your fingertips. My daughter's not so math inclined, but she has her own strengths and weaknesses. And, so we're working with her on this. But, boy, I tell you, I'd like to see one of my kids go to Silicon Valley and do something big. I really, really would. But Dad's not going to push them there, but I'm going to help them get there if they want to go there. That's for sure. Our publisher, Angry Robot, bundles free book with physical copies, and guess what? Their sales tripled. So they're finding out now that bundling, bundling is working for book sales. So some folks are a little bit alarmed about this, but they're finding that just by bundling a free ebook with a physical copy is tripling sales. And that's what I like. I'm going to put the physical copy on my shelf if it's one that I want to keep and I don't want to break the binding on. And I'm going to read the digital one. And I'm going to keep the book in a good physical shape so that, someday down the road it might be worth something. But anyway, very cool what they're doing. This is out of the UK. So those of you that live in the UK probably know about Angry Robot. And I'll have the link up in the show notes for you. This article on Slashdot is incredible. And I cannot believe that this is true. Apparently, a guy was indicted in 2007 with charges of illegally selling prescription drugs. He fled the country in 2004. The DEA has been after him, and they eventually found him in Panama. And so Panama resisted calls to extradite him back to the United States. So the DEA, in making this case, has amassed so much electronic data that maintaining it is now becoming a hardship. So consequently, the government wants to drop the whole case. Now, check this out. These materials that they've collected includes 2 terabytes of electronic data, which consumes approximately, listen to this, 5% of the DEA's worldwide electronic storage capability. Stephanie M. Rose, U.S. Attorney for Northern Iowa, wrote in the government's July motion to dismiss the indictment, continued storage of these materials is difficult and expensive. In addition, information associated with the case has managed to fill several hundred boxes of paper documents along with the dozens of computers and servers. And it's basically this 2 terabytes of data represents 5% of the DEA's global capacity. How can the DEA only have 40 terabytes of storage available to them? How can that even be possibly right? How can that be right? An organization as big as DEA only has 40 terabytes of storage overall? Hey, give me a few $1,000,000. I'll fix that. Matter of fact, give me a few $1,000,000. I'll fix your terabyte storage for free. We'll bring in some servers. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Haven't they heard of the cloud? And they're gonna throw this case out because it can't store his materials? All right. California wants genetically modified foods to be labeled. This is a Proposition 37 that's going to be up for vote. And I'm going to tell you, just about everything that you eat is genetically modified. So I don't know how they're going to enforce this. The organic farmers want this proposition move forward, but obviously the agriculture community does not. But let's be straight up. So much stuff that you put in your mouth is already genetically modified. I've been saying this for years. It just makes me laugh every time I read something like this. All right. BBC is not bringing iPlayer or live streaming to Windows Phone and is blaming Microsoft. Ooh. Says live streaming is impossible thanks to a bug in the software that can't secure the session, breaking the corporation's copy protection system, which only affects mobile devices. So apparently Microsoft's known about this issue for some time, but hasn't been able to get it fixed. And same thing with their iPlayer. It says that it's not cost effective for the system thanks to lack of support of HTTP live streaming. This is what is Windows doing? Come on, guys. This is ridiculous. It really is. But anyway, no iPlayer coming to Windows Phone, at least not in the near future. Hey, there was a spacewalk today on the International Space Station. Of course, they're doing this boost in spacewalk as well. So International Space Station Commodore Gennady Padalkia and cosmonaut Yuri Melenchenko floated out of the Pirs docking compartment today and basically did a 5-hour and 51-minute spacewalk, moving a telescoping space crane to a different module in preparation for the arrival of a Russian laboratory compartment late next year. Oh, that's cool. And cosmonauts also launched a small science satellite, and they used a small tool to deploy the 20-pound spacecraft on a trajectory to the rear of the space station. And so anyway, they did a bunch of stuff up there today. Link will be up in the show notes and everything that they were able to accomplish. And they found a 45,000-year-old human skull in Asia. So scientists are pretty excited about that. Matter of fact, I was reading today, this is not a profession you want to go into. It's not paying very well. Plan to be poor if you're doing archaeological work. And you have to dig in the dirt a lot. It was on this, I read that on a, looking at careers. You got to love it. You're not going to get rich being an archaeologist for sure. And nothing against those folks that do that. It's a great job. I'm glad you do and able to find this cool stuff like this out. But if you're looking for a career to make good money, it might not be the career field to go into. And then finally tonight, scientists have developed a lithium-ion battery that charges 120 times faster than normal. So a group of Korean scientists working at the Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology have developed a fast-charge lithium-ion battery that can recharge 120 times faster. And one of the main issues with rechargeable batteries is that they took a long time, of course. So they've come up with a way to do this. So they're going to be testing this and see how this works. But fast-charge batteries would be awesome. Not only for cars, but for smartphones and laptops. Plug that bad boy in, 30 seconds later, you're charged. That's what I'm talking about in a big, big way. right, that covers all the coverage today. Let me go ahead and open up email, see what I've got in the email stack for tonight. And we're doing okay so far on time. Hey, as always, if you've got comments on today's show, I definitely want to hear from you. geeknews@gmail.com. The Twitter address is @geeknews. So I know I had some comments come in. And today is the 20th. And let's see here. The last show was on the 16th. So let's see. What have we got here? All right. Got an email from Tim. Hey, Apple is sacrificing save money by making iPhones in China for constant leaks in media of their secret device. Okay. So I'll have that up in the show notes. This is an Apple Insider article. Got an email from Richard. He said, hey, Todd, the torrent site Demonoid that has been basically that domain that was up for sale has been banned over legal issues. So apparently they're not allowing that allowing that domain to be sold, and has to do with legal issues with the domain. So Sado is not able to offer resale services for that. So that's kind of interesting to see. So anyway, link is up in the show notes. I think that wraps it up for emails. Not too much today that came in, but I want to thank everyone for continuing to be fans of the show. Thank you for staying subscribed. Thank you for sending your comments in. And that voicemail hotline is available 24 hours a day at 619-342-7365. Email address again is geeknews@gmail.com. Twitter @geeknews. And we're going to be giving away another prize on the next show. I've had a few donations come in to the Insider. So if you want to become an insider, we appreciate it. geeknewscentral.com/insider. And we'll give away another prize on the next show. Again, we're on show 10792 on the march here to 800. Looking forward to bringing you show 800. What would you like me to talk about on show 800? Anything special? Drop me an email. Let me know. Anyways, until next time, everyone take care. We'll see ya. Thanks for hanging out. Aloha.